What is up, everybody? This is the Wrestling Exchange. I am Ted, and I'm joined with, as always,
Papo. What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Oh, man, we got some cool stuff to talk about tonight. Tonight is the night, my friend. We got Raw, the Labor Day edition. For those of you who are watching, please like, comment, subscribe. Buttons here, thumbs up button, subscribe. I think it's a plus or whatever. Also, if you want to join our conversation, let us know in the comments down below anything you think, anything you liked, any suggestions, anything you want us to talk about. Please feel free. We're always open to fan interaction. Also, we have a Facebook page, which I'll be posting the link down below on that as well in the description box. So you can go over to our Facebook page, be part of our weekly conversation, where we basically, at the end of each episode, we discuss we discuss certain topics. This week we got a good one, but we're not going to get into that yet. It's a little early. Papa, how you feeling today, man?
Feeling pretty good. Hard day at work. Home relaxing. And about to go into our Raw exchange on the Ted and Papo Wrestling Exchange. So, all right, Ted, let's go ahead and start the ball rolling with the highlight reel.
Oh, man, the highlight reel. So you and I have discussed previously that we're big Chris Jericho fans. They're different versions of Jericho, but Chris Jericho, Y2J, all the same. So this is the Labor Day edition of WWE RAW. And basically the schedule, or how it was supposed to play out, was that his guest, Y2J's of course, was supposed to be Randy Orton. But instead of just Orton showing up, he actually shows up with pretty much all of the authority, a.k.a. Corporate's Kane, Seth Rollins, Triple H. Then, of course, we get some verbal jabs back and forth. I think Jericho referred to the authority as Randy's law firm of Sellout, Suck Up, and Schnoz. I'm assuming Sellout is Rollins, Suck Up being Kane, and Schnoz being the nasal one of the gang. So basically, Triple H talks about how the Cena-Lesnar rematch scheduled for Night of Champions might not be best for business, and he's contemplating naming a new #1 contender. Of course, each guy there basically says why they should do it. Orton says he should do it because he never got his contractual obligated rematch, that good old wrestling rematch clause. Let's see here. Kane says it should be himself because, well, whatever, and we don't care. Rollins says he should do it because he's the future. Y2J suggests because he's a 6-time world champion, the first ever undisputed world champion who beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night, and the only person to have the unique distinction of being the record holder of 9-time Intercontinental Champion, which must say something. Then, of course, he comes out. You know him. I know him. Sometimes we like him. Sometimes we hate him. John Cena. And basically says, if you don't allow my rematch that's already authorized and you approved, I'll sue you. And he basically gets... he's visibly upset and then reminds Triple H that he's the one that tapped out at WrestleMania 22 in the STFU, back when they were calling it that. And then Triple H, kind of throws a verbal barb at him and says, yeah, that's cute, John. Now your new T-shirt should read Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, Lawsuit. And he basically he basically says that the reason why he's not down for this is because Cena having a match with Brock Lesnar as essentially the rematch, this would be the third match that they've had in the past 2 years, would basically be career-ending. The Beast would suplex him into oblivion, and at Night of Champions, that would be not good business. Of course, Orton takes a jab at Roman Reigns, says something like, well, if Roman Reigns were here, I'd drop him, and then, of course, Reigns shows up. Spoiler alert. He says that his name belongs in the mix, and then, of course, they make a main event 6-man tag match, which is Cena, Reigns, and Jericho versus Orton, Rollins, and Kane. And then Triple H goes on to state that whoever proves himself gets the spot. And then, of course, Rollins tries a sneak attack on Reigns. Reigns is able to get a hold of the briefcase and then just kind of throws it in his face. Just a few quick things here. One, do we really buy that he's considering someone else? I mean, would that even be a legitimate question at this point? And yeah, no, I guess that's my only question.
Well, I believe what he did was best for business in regards to saying that Cena and Brock Lesnar would not be best for business. That's just going to make the crowd go even wilder. And I look forward to seeing another victim, another prison bitch, if you will. But as of right now, I can care less. I rather I want to see who they're going to put up to beat Brock Lesnar. As of right now, John Cena's talking about not beating him, but beating his ass. I mean, as far as I go, I can't see it again. You know, and I know that if John Cena wins, it's going to damage that belt big time.
And the streak. It's going to damage the streak.
Oh, definitely the streak, which is, I'm still heartbroken over that. And that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. A couple of things that I wanted to add, too, is that I had
a call.
Oh, it's an alarm. Okay, yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. I have reservations about a Cena-Lesnar rematch, only because I'm afraid that they're going to do the same thing that they've done for the past 10 years, and basically John Cena gets his win back, everything is hunky-dory. Now, I don't know if I pitched it on the show, but a while back, I had pitched the idea that if we were ever going to see a John Cena heel turn, it would be after he lost twice in a row, twice in a lifetime to The Rock, and then basically went on to Cena Rampage. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think the opportunity for that is long gone. But here's where I stand. If the idea is for John Cena to have the rematch just so he can get his win back, not interested. Not at all. And that's not me not liking John Cena. I like John Cena. I like him as a person. I've seen him Total Divas and in interviews, and he seems like a really good guy, a real hard worker, real company man. So I'm all about that. You know, I really dig that. I just think that the character, and I'm sure you and most of our audience would agree, the character's kind of stale. I mean, it's okay for little Johnny, who's 8 years old, and he rocks the hat and the armbands and the you can, all that jazz. But I think if it goes on to for Cena to get his win back, I don't think that works for anyone. And again, I think that hurts. The reason why I think it hurts the streak is because if you're going to have someone beat Lesnar, is that it can't be the guy that's beaten everybody. It has to be someone different to make that the case. It couldn't be Cena. Cena's basically beaten everybody. And plus, he's, as you and I discussed previously, we call him the franchise, not to be confused with a.k.a. the Dean, a.k.a. the franchise and Mr. One and Only Shane Douglas. We're talking about the actual franchise. So I think here that, and I've pushed for this. Not pushed. It's not like I hold any actual sway, but I've submitted my thoughts in that if anybody's going to be Brock Lesnar, it really should be Daniel Bryan, and this is not because I'm a Daniel Bryan mark, although I love Daniel Bryan. I think he's phenomenal, but I think the story would be better served is that here's a guy whose his whole shtick, his whole gimmick, if you will, is basically to overcome the odds, and in a way, unlike Cena, where you know Cena's going to overcome the odds, so much so that you could just fast forward and not give a damn. Daniel Bryan has a real chance. Plus, he's not built like John Cena. He's a smaller guy. And I think their two styles would work really, really well together. In fact, I just watched an interview the other day in which someone was asking about his recovery, and they had asked him, which would you rather have, a rematch with Cena, or not rematch, but just have another match with Cena, or face, or no. It was before SummerSlam, and they asked, whoever wins at SummerSlam, who would you want to see? And he basically said that he's already had his match with Cena. He's already worked with Cena. But the one that he was interested would be Brock Lesnar. And they've never had a match, which, again, kind of adds to that. Would be really, really, really cool. But if Cena gets the win, or, excuse me, if the rematch for Cena Lesnar, if that goes to establish a change in the John Cena character, I'm all for it. Based on previous experience, I don't think that's going to happen. I want to believe, but I don't. I'm worried that that's not going to be the case, and John Cena is just going to get his win back, and no one's going to fucking care. That being said, moving on to one of my favorite matches of the night. Sheamus and Ziggler, both the U.S. and Intercontinental Champion, go to a tag team match with the King of Swing, Cesaro, Miz, and of course accompanied by Damien Mizdow, as well as a makeup girl, or artist, excuse me. What did you think about this match?
Well, speaking of this match in particular, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was actually quite entertaining. I mean, I'm not going to go into the results at the end. I'll let you do that, Ted, but I will have to admit, Ziggler was on point with this match. The tenacity that he showed, and let me tell you, he was a ball of fire in that ring when he got in there. It was awesome to see him at that level. If he keeps on that track, I see championship gold in his future. I'm not just talking about Intercontinental or U.S. Champion. I'm talking about World Heavyweight Championship material. And the whole situation with Damien Mizdow, I mean, that was hilarious. That was definitely entertaining, and that was actually one of my favorite bits of the whole night.
Yeah.
So, Ted, you want to go ahead and break down the match for our viewers, please?
Sure. So, basically, when Miz comes out, he has a makeup artist, he has Damien Mizdow, but he also has like an actor's chair that you see on movie sets and video shoots and the whatnot. You know the ones I'm talking about. It has the name on the back, it folds up, all that jazz. Kind of looks like a high chair for grown-ups. So basically they put on a kick-ass match, as all four of these guys in this match can do. I never thought I would say this, but I think I'm becoming a Miz fan. Because it's not that I don't like him, as I just always thought that, like, oh yeah, Miz is okay. You know, yeah, he's really not likable, but nothing much from that. The stuff he's doing with Hollywood Miz is the best stuff he's ever done, and I don't want it to ever go away. So basically what happens is they have this just sweet match. It wasn't too long, but it wasn't too short either. And basically anytime Miz was not tagged in, he was sitting in that director chair getting pampered by Damien Mizdow, and then, of course, having his makeup touched up. Really still playing up the don't hit me in my face gimmick, which I love. And it's great because it's I don't want to say it's easy heel heat, but it's something you really have to commit to. And you could just believe that this guy's kind of a douche in real life, although I don't think that's the case. He's probably a really good guy. But it's a very believable gimmick. Basically, Dolph Ziggler was over like a motherfucker in this match. Let's go Ziggler. You know, we want Ziggler. Ziggy, Ziggy, Ziggy. All those chants. And you're right. Ziggler's awesome. I think he's technically already been world champion at least once, maybe twice. I'm not sure on that. If I'm wrong, please let us know. Comment down below. But yeah, so the only thing I have against Ziggler is that sometimes, and I don't want to come off as sounding like Jim Ross, where he says everybody's moving too fast. But I think that the camera guys aren't used, because if you notice when Ziggler got the hot tag, he was moving too fast for the camera guy. Like the camera guy was struggling to go left, right. But basically, Ziggler gets the hot tag, and then there's a little bit of shenanigans. But then Miz gets tagged in, and I think, if I remember correctly, Ziggler goes for the Famouser, to which Miz kind of ducks and rolls out of the ring, and then he tells Damien, and then Cesaro comes in the ring, and then Sheamus him and Cesaro brawl over the top rope to the outside, and then basically Miz tells Damien Sandow, he says, "You're in," and Damien Sandow says, "Action, I'm in," and takes off his I don't know what they are. They're pants that you can just pull right off. Um, but he jumps in as Damien Mizdow, and then of course he gets in the ring, and the ref's like, "Hey, you're not a legal man in this match. Get out of here." And Damien's like, "Oh, okay, I'm getting out. I'm getting out." So with his back turned to Ziggler, Ziggler jumps up, zigzag, and then as Damien rolls out of the ring, Miz jumps up from behind, skull crushing finale for the 1, the 2, the 3. I thought this was an awesome finish, and I love that they're staying with the Damien Mizdow thing, as opposed to giving him a new gimmick or a new character to portray weekly, that he's stuck in this Damien Mizdow role. And I pray, and I'm hoping right here, that we can get a feud for who's the real Miz at some point, because I think that would be awesome, and I think those two are pretty good. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Anything else you wanted to add before we keep this ball rolling?
Not much. I mean, that was basically that match, and to me, that was one of my favorite matches of the night. So let's go ahead and keep the ball rolling, Ted.
Keeping it rolling, we had what's called a Growing Up Bella video packages, and these would air throughout the night, and there was a couple of others. We'll get into those as well. But basically, it's post Nikki Bella heel turn, and she's explaining what it was like to grow up with such a terrible, terrible person as a twin, a.k.a. her sister Brie Bella. And it's cute, it's nice. They show up little photos of them as kids. It's really, at first it's kind of touching because you're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm not a twin. Hey, man, I'm sentimental. I can't help it. So what if I get a little worked up in my man drama? Okay, let me have that. Let me just have that.
I will give that one to you.
So she basically proceeds to tell this story where I'm such a good person and Bree's such a terrible person that this is my prom date, and they put a picture up, and she's like, I was so excited, I had a crush on him all year, he finally asked me to go to prom, and then he disappears after we take the picture, and he's in the parking lot with Bree. Now, they don't mention what they were doing in the parking lot. I think it might have been a little
That's what we think, but I bet you any kind of money they were probably smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, probably. Well, you know the old adage about smoking a cigarette, a girl that smokes a cigarette, right?
A girl who smokes is a girl who pokes.
Ah, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Just because. I love it. Then we have this abomination of a wrestling match. Did you have anything you wanted to say about this particular video segment before we keep it moving?
Yeah, I'll make it short and sweet.
All right. Sold. So we had possibly... and... So we had a match. It was a 6-woman, I guess, I don't know, tag match. It was Rosa Mendez, Eva Marie, and Cameron versus Summer Rae, Layla, and Naomi. Basically, this is really just a match to drum up excitement and viewership for Total Divas Season 3. Now, I have watched all the Total Divas that are on the WWE Network. I love it. I'm hooked. And I usually I'm not into reality TV, but I guess because I already know them from another venue, it's really interesting stuff. Natalia and TJ, I don't know what it is about Canadians, but there's a moment where their wedding almost gets ruined because this guy that I guess used to bang Natalia shows up, and she was texting him, and while her and TJ were fighting and they were like getting married, and he like shows up and he's like, "Hey man, I've been texting your woman and I don't think you're the right guy." And as an American, and I'm just picturing this because at my own wedding, if someone I knew showed up I don't care who they are, showed up at my wedding and basically said, "Yeah, man, I've been texting your bitch and I want to be with her and you're not the right guy," I would punch him in his fucking mouth. I wouldn't be able to handle it. And it must be because Canadians are better people than Americans, because you could tell that they got heated, but it was surprisingly a civil exchange, which is kind of disappointing, but I was like, maybe Maybe I should take back all this shit I'm talking about Canada, but I can't do that. That's WWE's fault. Okay, Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation did it. They started it first. Okay, America. Anyway, now that I got that out of the way, it's a match basically promoting the show, and I didn't think this match was going to take too long, so I had the foresight to get out my phone and to open up the stopwatch function on my phone. And I'm going to let you guess, how long do you think this match was?
Off the top of my head, and just thinking about it, 2 minutes.
Believe it or not, 1 minute and 3 seconds exactly from bell to bell.
Yeah.
And nobody else got tagged in. It was just Layla, and it was just Rosa Mendez. And Rosa Mendez is terrible. There was a number of spots that were just really bad, and you could tell that she doesn't. I don't say this to disparage or make disparaging comments about her because I don't like her as a person because I don't know her. I reserve that specifically for Eva Marie. Fuck you. She's just bad. It's you can tell who's a wrestler or a sports entertainer and who is not by how they move in the ring, right? Their fluidity, if that's a word. If it's not, it's a word now. This was pretty bad. It was really, really pretty bad. The only upside is that we were saved from the idea of Eva Marie ever stepping foot in that ring as tagged as a legal person. Yeah, I didn't care for it. Eva Marie, please die in a fire. Your thoughts?
Honestly, I didn't know it was that long, that short. I kind of thought it was 2 minutes. But let me tell you, Layla messed up so much in that match. I was like playing Candy Crush on my phone.
Do you think it was... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I was totally disappointed in her in-ring performance. I mean, the back kick in the corner, I mean, it looked so... Like, she just stuck up her leg just to stick up her leg. There was, like, no power behind that kick or none. I was like, really? And she's going to sell it like that? Oh, my God. I mean, it just... I was playing Candy Crush.
Yeah, that back kick was really horrible. I kind of got, from what I saw, it looked like most, and this is maybe just my opinion on it, it looked like most of the screw-ups were on Eva's part, because it looked like she was never where she was supposed to be. But, yeah, no, I can't argue with that back kick. Layla's back kick was, like, super weak. And then she did this spot where she did this, it was like a combo of 3 kicks. It was like a side kick to the stomach, and then I guess it was supposed to be like an inside crescent and then an outside crescent, and you could tell the last one didn't even connect at all. Yeah, really terrible. Really, really, really terrible. I would have much rather had anything else other than that. But yeah, terrible. Anything else, any other thoughts you have before we move on to the next Growing Up Bella?
That match sucked. I mean, luckily they all have fine asses, so let's go ahead and keep the ball rolling, Ted.
Yeah. Layla has a real fine ass. She is delicious.
Nom, 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 nom.
All right. So moving right along, we have another Growing Up Bella segment, video package, what have you. It's Nikki Bella, and she's talking about that awful person that she was entwined with as a twin, if you will. Basically, she tells a story about when you're a twin, there's certain advantages, certain disadvantages, and basically she tells the story that you wonder if it was made up, but I don't know, man. If I was a twin, I would have probably done the same thing. So basically what happens is that she tells a story about when her and her sister got took their driver's test. Nikki passed, Bree failed, and then what happened is that their mom brought them a car to share, and then essentially Bree stole the car, or didn't steal the car, but just took the car out joyriding without a license, but then took her sister's license and pretended to be Nikki Bella, or whatever their real last name is. And she proceeds to get into an accident, and then they show a picture of the car itself, and then she basically says that since she had Nikki's license with her, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Nikki Bella. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm a slut. Big titties. I don't have them yet, but I will have them surgically implanted later on in life." And then yeah, just what an awful, awful piece of shit, terrible sister Bree is, and that's pretty much all that was. Did you have any thoughts? I don't think you do, but just curious. we have to get like a meter where it's the raspberry meter on a level of 0 to whatever, just so that when you do that, we can see the needle go up and down. It'd be really funny.
That'd be awesome.
rate everything on raspberries. Then we have. There's no way not to love it. We have a promo by Paul Heyman. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Paul Heyman's the greatest manager of all time. I will not do it. Because there's only one room for one person. There's only room for one on the top of that mountain. And this is one of those few things that, in my opinion, is not subjective about pro wrestling. And the greatest manager of all time, and you can challenge me on this, but you're wrong, is Bobby Heenan. Paul Heyman, probably top 5. Because you got to think of all the guys that he managed over the years. Yep.
I'm in concurrence. Bobby Heenan, all the way.
Yeah, it's really hard to put anybody above Bobby Heenan just because of his body of work, and whether anybody he managed, which seemingly was everybody at one given time or another, they all had this like common goal, and that was to crush Hulkamania. And everybody that he managed, even if they were like terrible, like I even think he wrestled Brooklyn Brawler. Maybe everybody, with the exception of Brooklyn Brawler, you could believe to some degree were a legitimate threat. And he managed some of my favorite heels over the years. And we're not going to get too far into that. But basically, Paul Heyman, my point is that although Paul Heyman is not the greatest manager of all time, he may be in the running for greatest promo of all time. Again, probably right behind Bobby Heenan, because goddamn, Bobby Heenan was just so good. So good. But basically, he cuts a promo, and he basically says that John Cena is trying to compensate for the ass whooping for that prison rape he received at SummerSlam. Basically goes on to say that John Cena has been stripped of his manhood, and that just like all great fighters, at some point when they lose that match and they realize they're on the decline, they're living in an illusion. That he's basically lost his mind. He's delusional. He thinks that he even stands a chance against Brock Lesnar is just dumb. And basically, he says that the reason why Triple H has some trepidation as far as booking that match, Cena versus Lesnar, is because John Cena is the cash cow. And cash cow, indeed, he is. I mean, it's not that hard to see how many Cena shirts you see in those crowds, but also how many people chant, "Let's go Cena," or just go ape shit when they hear his music. And that basically he's a cash cow that if Brock gets his hands on him again, he's going to milk that cow dry. And there ain't going to be much left of John Cena ever again. And that's not good for business, right? John Cena sells tickets. John Cena improves TV ratings. Like when he was injured for those 2 months, when they said he was going to be out for 4 months for that elbow surgery, ratings did drop because Cena was not on the show. He is a big part of it. But basically, he says that it doesn't matter who John Cena defeats, even though he destroyed the Wyatts, and he could put I think the exact quote was he could take everybody in the locker room and multiply that by infinity, and it wouldn't even come close to half of the ability that Brock Lesnar has. And basically, it doesn't matter because Brock Lesnar is on a whole nother level than anyone else on the roster. Your thoughts?
I'm just ready to see another victim get killed. I am so ready for Cena to be put in his place. I mean, as of right now, with all the talk, I'm just done with it. I'm ready to see Brock Lesnar demolish Cena again, if you will.
If you will. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
Will.
But yeah, no, anytime Heyman gets up there and speaks, I'm always happy. Um, blah, 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 blah. So that's that. Then we had the next match, Jack Swagger, and we got Zeb Coulter back. Yay, Zeb Coulter, we the people. Versus Curtis Axel. Surprising, because it's weird to see Curtis Axel without Ryback. Again, I think Curtis Axel is a very talented professional wrestler. I think the problem with him is that they waited so long to do anything of relevance with him. And you got the son of Mr. Perfect, and you give him a name like Michael McGillicuddy. That's an awful wrestling name. Even if he did want to do it on his own and not live under the name of Larry the Axe Hennig, his grandfather, and Kurt Hennig, his father, they could have at least done the favor of giving him a better name. Michael McGillicuddy, awful. You're not going to put that on the T-shirt, let me tell you. But they had a pretty solid match. Swagger, if you notice, he's still got the ribs taped up. And then during the match, we noticed that Bo Dallas shows up on the stage area with 3 chairs. And, of course, those 3 chairs become populated by 3 different people. And then Curtis Axel eventually taps out to the Patriot Lock. And then Bo Dallas, as soon as they start playing Swagger's music, he's like, "Hey, buddy. Hey, Jack. How you doing? Listen."
That voice. Hey, guys.
Hey, buddy.
You got a believe.
Oh, but that's why you got to believe, man.
Serious.
I think that's the point, though, right? He's like...
He's like awesome, Bo Dallas. Let me tell you right now.
What's that?
You do an awesome Bo Dallas. Let me tell you.
Oh man, Bo Dallas is easily one of my favorite young guys. I see world title reigns in his future. And one of the cool things is that I think, if memory serves, he's the son of Mike Rotunda, or Rotundo, depending on whether you watched him in WCW, NWA, or WWF, because I know they use different versions of the last name. He's also the nephew of Barry Windham. And what's interesting is that although his brother Bray Wyatt is a just monster of a human, Bo kind of reminds me a little bit more of Barry Windham. Like, if you just watch him in the ring, he's very, very smooth. But occasionally there's a screw up here and there, but just his overall movement, kind of similar to Randy Orton, where everything is very smooth, everything is very fluid to the most part. I just think that Bo Dog isn't helping, because I don't think that's a good move for him. I forget what he used in NXT, but that's, I don't know. I think Trish is the only one who did that well, at least that particular version of it. And basically, he says, "Hey, buddy, remember all those 318 million Americans that I reminded you of last week that you let down after your loss to Rusev at SummerSlam? Well, I'm going to introduce to you 3 of those Americans, basically just to give you a face to those numbers, so you can understand how much you let us down." And he introduces us to 3 people: Richie, Angelo, and Jennifer. Richie is an American farmer, a working man. He basically bet his life savings on Swagger beating Rusev, because, that was just a foregone conclusion. And I think even you and I thought that Swagger was going to win this match, but now he has lost all of his money, and if he had kids, it would also be his kids' tuition fund. Excuse me, and now the bank is taking his farm. Angelo is an immigrant tailor who came to this country with the American dream. Basically, he's a big wrestling fan, and he was studying to take his citizenship so he could proudly say, "We the people." But basically, the loss Jack Swagger suffered at the hands of Rusev was so devastating that he failed his citizenship test and now is being deported back to Italy, which is hilarious because we don't deport anybody, apparently. But whatever, we'll go with it. And then Jennifer. This was hands down my favorite. He says Jennifer is a mom. She got a young little boy, very impressionable. He loves pro wrestling. And his hero was Jack Swagger. And after SummerSlam, his new hero is Vladimir motherfucking Putin. Now, just to be on the record, Vladimir Putin is kind of a legit badass. He's ex-KGB, hunts tigers, just a BMF. You know, I don't think he's a good guy, but definitely a bad dude that I would never want to have a knife fight with. Let's just say, even if I had all the knives, I still wouldn't want to have a knife fight with him. So, yeah, and then basically believe. Your thoughts?
This bit was actually entertaining. His voice is
wait. I'm sorry. I really don't mean to cut you off. Are you telling me that you finally come around, you've seen the error of your ways, and now you're a believer?
I am not a believer, but entertaining is entertaining. So, I mean, as of right now, Swagger has his next feud, which leads Rusev into what we'll talk about later on. So, I am not a believer, but this bit was entertaining.
Oh, it definitely was. Do you think, and this was something that occurred to me while watching, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because it seems like right now they're not necessarily closing the door on the feud with him and Rusev. They're just kind of moving it to the side. Do you think that they're just setting up mini feuds and right now in place for both competitors, so that way come like a big pay-per-view, they can reintroduce us to that feud and then finally give us that, what's the word I'm looking for, that closure, if you will?
Yeah, I do. I totally see that. I mean, as of right now, Rusev has him beat hands down. That's not to say that later on in the future, Swagger may not slide in that win somehow, somewhere, and that would actually put a closure to that dispute between these two. But if I had to be a betting man, as of right now, I put my money on sexual chocolate.
Oh, buddy. We're going to get there in just a moment, and I got some interesting ideas I want to bring to you. Before we do that, we have Adam Rose accompanied by his Exotic Express with my boy Titus O'Neil and the one-man band, baby, Heath Slater. Because this match was kind of hysterical. What were your thoughts on this match?
This match was short and sweet. What had me laughing the most was the bunny getting involved with Heath Slater. I mean, honestly, the match had lackluster, but the bunny made it interesting. Where the bunny guy dressed up as a bunny, got up in Heath Slater's face, Slater pushed him, and then the bunny attacked him. Where in the hell does a bunny attack anybody? And then we have
Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There was a killer bunny rabbit.
You're going to go there.
Oh, I'm totally going to go there. I got a story, but I'm not going to share that with you. But yeah, that's the only place I can think of.
Well, then we got Adam Rose winning with a roll-up. And then we have the bunny fighting the one-man band, baby. So,
the one-man band,
the whole match
Did you... I got a couple of questions here, and I'm curious as to what you think, right? So first off, I got to get something off my voluptuous chest here. I don't think Adam Rose is being serviced well as a babyface. I think this guy should be a heel, and I pitched the idea to my wife, who's a very casual wrestling fan, tunes in and tunes out, but doesn't really kind of watch it, just puts up with my wrestling nerddom. And basically, you would think that the guy that goes around that parties, he has lollipops, he wears I guess it looks like a Alice in Wonderland, or no,
top hat.
Top Hat, but the
Mad
Willy
Hatter
Wonka. I was either thinking the Mad Hatter hat or the OG Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder from, I guess it was like the 70s. I'm not sure. Not the terrible Johnny Depp version, like the real Willy Wonka movie. His hat similar to that, and even the sunglasses, they're similar to when they're in the TV room and he takes Mike and he teleports him over to the other side and he's small and they do it with the candy and it's whatever the hell it is. But you would think he goes around saying party time all the time, don't be a lemon, be a rosebud. You would think that that guy's a heel, right, on paper, because you'd be like, what an obnoxious jerk. I don't want to root for this guy, but yet somehow some people want to root for him. I got to tell you, I hate the bunny. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I like the use of the bunny, but I hate the idea that a guy in a bunny suit has to hop. Like, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. I'm willing to believe that The Undertaker is really a dead man, that he really burned down the house with his family in it, that he really burned down his brother, who had scars so bad that he had to cover up his face with a mask and couldn't really talk. My name is Kane, I'm a Rudy Boo, yes. All that jazz. Only to find out that he doesn't really have any scars and they're just emotional and whatever, we're retconning content and whatnot. But and maybe this is just me, but I draw the line as a wrestling fan where a man in a goddamn bunny suit has to hop. That's where I draw the line. I don't know why, just took me right out of it. I hated every minute of it. Also, too, and this is going to go further the idea that I think he should be a heel. The bunny picks a fight with Heath Slater. Like, hops up to Heath Slater and just kind of like shimmies his ass in front of him, and Heath Slater's like, I don't know what you're talking about, guy. And then, here's another thing that irritated the hell out of me. They do a bit where the bunny kind of puts his shoulder into him. I think you said he pushed him, and then the bunny did a kind of like a shoulder tackle into his gut, and then took his legs and dropped him and started grounding and pounding. The commentary, shame on you, commentary. They called that a double leg takedown. I wrestled in high school, damn it. That is nowhere near a double leg takedown. Watch Jack Swagger. That's a goddamn double leg takedown. That, I don't know what that was. But also, to further the idea that Adam Rose is a heel, they beat the poor shit out of Heath Slater. They take him by the arms and they whip him into the steel post. Is that something a good guy does after a match?
No, not really.
Terrible. It's awful. Awful. Terrible.
Terrible.
The worst. Terrible.
The worst. Terrible.
Yeah, and I noticed too that this particular episode of this particular week's Raw is that, and we talked about this last week, and we may have talked about it before in other episodes, how every time someone comes out, their music plays, and they get distracted, it's kind of worn out, it's very played, it's almost cliche at this point. Now they're kind of doing the distraction finishes where they're actually realizing we can't do the same dumb shit every week just because we love fake fighting, or we love scripted fighting that we know is not real in the sense that there is an actual winner or loser, but real in the sense that people do get injured, and it is very physical. I want to make sure I draw that line of delineation so people don't think I'm not a fan. I very much am a fan. Mick Foley lost an ear in professional wrestling in the fake sport. But yeah, man, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, and that's all I have to say about that. Anything you wanted to add before we talk about some more growing up Bella?
No. Go ahead with your Bella segment.
Yay! Okay. So we have another. All right. Compose myself. All right. So we have another growing up Bella segment, and Nikki says she's halfway through the year, her and her sister's school year, and Bree's going to be held back for her grades. She may have to do summer school, or even where she may have to repeat the senior year. And so Nikki, being the awesome sister that she is, basically decides to do the twin magic. They put on the masks and they did the Killer Bee gimmick, where Jim Brunzell and B. Brian Blair switch places so they could take each other's final exams. And of course, Nikki shows up, pretends to be Brie takes her final exams, and what do you know? She's such an awesome human being that Brie ends up passing anyway. That was pretty much that. Your thoughts on the raspberry meter? Seems that's a 6.5 out of 10 on the raspberry meter. So moving on, we got to see my boy, woo, you know it, Zack Ryder take on Rusev with Lana. Basically, Rusev and Lana come out. Lana cuts this weird promo on Labor Day. She basically says, in very fancy, eloquent words, that Americans are fat and lazy. And that I think she even said, you suck, which I was waiting for Kurt Angle to come out and be like, I don't suck, you suck, which I think anybody who worked the you suck gimmick was Kurt Angle. And we love you, rest in peace, even though I know you're not dead, but you're withering away in TNA and you're not going to do us any good being there. That being said, crazy short match. I didn't bother to time it because I didn't think it was going to be as short as it was. Ryder taps out in the camel clutch, and then then there's some other stuff. And I'm curious, what were your thoughts on this match?
Well, it was short and sweet. I mean, Rusev is just a beast in the ring, looking like he had too many Whoppers or Big Macs, whatever you like. But I want to go into more detail about what happened after the match.
All right, so let's hear what happened after the match.
Okay, we have my boy, Mark Henry, Sexual Chocolate, come out and tell him that he is the world's strongest man, living in the world's strongest country. And when asked Rusev, why you running? Why you running? Which I was like, it just brought me to a past with dealing with bullies asking, why you running? Why you running? Which is I found completely hilarious. So this has my attention. I am so ready for this feud to pop off. Ted, please give me your input. Please give me your input.
Oh, I'm giving it to you. In a strictly non-sexual way. First of all...
Thank you.
You're welcome. So first off, Henry says he's going to open up a new wing of the Hall of Pain. First and foremost, I love the Hall of Pain. I think it's great. I think couldn't be a better gimmick. I think it's the best gimmicks or the best shticks, whatever you want to call them, are simple, easy to understand, right? Doesn't have to be that complicated. His Hall of Pain means he's just going to whoop your ass, and he's going to take basically a picture of you being World's Strongest Slammed in his Hall of Pain. He says he's going to open up an international wing. Brand new thing, although I'm sure he's wrestled foreigners before. I use the term foreigner lovingly. I don't hate foreigners. Just saying what the man was essentially saying. And he basically says Rusev's going to be the first inductee. And I really think, and I think you'll agree with me on this, that because we talked about this a moment ago, this is a way to kind of transition the Rusev Swagger feud into a different timeline, so to give us something else to kind of digest and work on until we return to that feud. Yeah, man, I'm a big Hall of Pain fan. I love Mark Henry. The only man I know to impregnate a woman way past the time you should be impregnated to give birth to a white hand, I might add. Mae Young might have her pooter might have been diddled by someone else, let's just say. Maybe a Vince McMahon. Who knows? But yeah, man, I dig. I love Mark Henry. I think he's improved dramatically since we first saw him. I want to say he debuted also in '96, wearing like this goofy. Right after he won, he competed in the Olympics wearing this goofy ass red, white, and blue outfit, and I think he might have World's Strongest Slam Lawler back when Lawler was the evil Jerry the King Lawler. God, I missed that version of him. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I like the idea. I definitely don't think that Henry's going to go over in this feud, especially if we're going to return to Swagger and Rusev. I think Rusev's going to go over and basically make his own Bulgarian Hall of Fame, now residing in Russia. And so that way he's an even bigger threat for Swagger when they return. So when Swagger gets that win, it's going to be all the more impressive. Curious as to when they're going to do that. It would be really interesting. Ideally, I think WrestleMania would be the place to do it, as it's kind of
what?
As it's kind of the place where storylines kind of culminate and come to a very end. But next we have a backstage segment that kind of leads into a segment out where in the ring where Stephanie McMahon basically goes on to essentially name Nikki Bella the #1 contender because she's brave, for the Divas title, of course, because she's brave, she's overcoming adversity, and she's essentially telling her story. Nikki Bella joins her in the ring. Stephanie says that Nikki is the face of the division, or should be the face of the division. Of course, Bree shows up, had a little confrontation. AJ Lee comes out, skips down to the ring. Please stop chanting CM Punk. He abandoned us. He does not want to be here, okay? We can't make CM Punk come back. It's just how it is. Let's see. Everybody speaks their piece, and then, of course, Paige skips out to the ring and says, like, hey, ma'am, I'm the champion. I don't know why you can have this conversation without me. And then Bree pushes Nikki into Paige. Title falls out of Paige's hands. AJ Lee picks up the Divas title, skips around with it. Steph demands it back. And then I don't even know what the point of this segment was because there was no clear defining resolution here. It was like, hey, we may name a female contender, blah, and then like nothing really actually happened. But yeah, your thoughts?
Honestly, this was a waste of a segment. I mean, it all compiles up from growing up Bella, and then Stephanie stating that Nikki's the #1 contender. AJ goes into detail about how she's the #1 contender and she has the rematch clause, etc., etc. So I'm waiting to see if there's going to be a #1 contenders match for the belt. And then we have Paige come out talking in her British accent, blase, blase, and I am so waiting to see these two twin bitches at each other's throats. That's what I'm waiting for.
I'm waiting for AJ Lee and Paige to get naked and like start rubbing on each other and play with each other's boobies. You know what I forgot? Speaking of this, we forgot to talk about the 1,400 plus pounds of man meat in the same ring. We forgot to talk about the world's strongest show. So I do want to finish with this topic, and we'll jump back and we'll address this. But anything else? Did you think the whole segment was weird? How there was no like clear resolution, and they didn't decide that she was going to be the #1 contender. They were just thinking about it, and then like all that weirdness.
No, they just left it wide open. I mean, right now they didn't even state who's the #1 contender match. That's what we need closure on. So stay tuned and let's find out what happens with this whole thing with these 4 bitches.
Yep. So backtracking here because this match actually took place earlier on in the night, but I literally glossed over it in my notes. I'm such a terrible, terrible person. We had the world's strongest the world's strongest show, or the world's largest team. I don't know what we're calling them, but yeah, basically Henry and the Big Show versus Harper and Rowan. The commentators kind of repeatedly mentioned that there's over 1,400 pounds of man meat in that ring. During the match, and this actually plays into the part that I mentioned earlier, where they're finding out ways to do the distraction finish without actually having... Oh, no, this wasn't... Excuse me, this was interference. I'm wrong.
DQ.
It was. Basically, they had a pretty damn good match. This is, I think, the 3rd week in a row that we've seen Rowan body slam the Big Show. Really impressive. He's just growing up. If he keeps body slamming the Big Show every week, I don't know if they sell one, but I may buy a Eric Rowan T-shirt. And I'll take everything back I said about him previously. Basically, during the match, Rusev with Lana comes out, walks down the ramp during the match. At one point, Henry gets Luke Harper into the World's Strongest Slam. Rusev slides in and kind of jump kicks him in the face. And then, of course, the World's Strongest Show wins by DQ. And then, of course, basically Mark Henry punks the fuck out of Rusev and basically calls him a bitch ass. So, let's see. Jumping forward in my notes now. Anything you wanted to add while I figure out where we are currently?
I mean, honestly, this match was very mediocre. I mean, there was obviously some missed spots, especially the DDT with Big Show with Rowan.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
His head never hit the mat or even came close to the mat. And I mean, I had to at least let you guys know that. I was really disappointed. And right now, I would like to see more of the World's Strongest Show, but put them up against somebody else, like the Dust Brothers or Rybaxel. I would love to see them go against Rybaxel.
Ooh,
but
yeah,
I'm actually getting tired. I'm getting tired of them going against the Wyatts, for real.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to put the Wyatts up against them, but I think that's something that I really don't care. One thing I noticed is that when Big Show hits the ropes, and usually when he hits the ropes, he doesn't do it half-assed, but it's not all the way. This match, he was having a fiery comeback, and he hit the ropes, and I was just waiting for the ropes to like fucking snap. I was like, holy God. Because you got to figure, they're saying he's 450 pounds, so let's assume he's 450 pounds. He's 450, but he's legit 7 feet, so you have that much weight plus added leverage because he's leaning into the ropes. Ugh, it just makes me nervous because I'm just waiting for those ropes to snap and fly off and kill somebody in the front row. And I want to see those two feud with other people. I want to see all four of them feud with other people. Plus, I also feel like they should just merge Big Show and Henry's music. Like, well, somebody's gonna get their ass whipped, something. I don't know. Call me. I got ideas for days, WWE. Jim Johnson, do something. Moving right along, I found out where we were in our timeline here. Bray Wyatt cuts a promo backstage in the darkness, basically referring to the cage match that's coming up this coming Raw, which I don't have my calendar in front of me, but it's this Monday, people. Basically tells Jericho, Chris, it's time to pay for your sins. 2 questions. Number 1, actually 3 questions. How much longer do you think this feud can go? Are you excited for this match? And third, do you think this is a match that they're giving away for free and should be done on pay-per-view?
Well, this match does have pay-per-view written all over it, but the people want closure. Right now, they're 1-1, best out of 3. That's awesome. I mean, give the people what they want. Give us this cage match, and we're going to find out exactly who's number 1. Chris Jericho or Bray Wyatt. So, Bray Wyatt, excuse me. So, I mean, I'm really, really wanting to see who's going to come out on this match. Especially in the cage, nobody could run, nobody could interfere.
Very cool.
Any thoughts?
I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I like their feud. I think the two of them work very well together. Their styles are different enough to where they mesh, because sometimes it's weird because sometimes and I'll reference like high flyers. 2 high flyers can be a very good combination. But then you have like 2 big guys, usually a very bad combination. Usually it doesn't work. Here, though, you've got Bray Wyatt, who's very agile, who's very fast, but he's built like a damn tank. I think he said at one point when he was as Husky Harris when they were doing the NXT, back when it was the contest, at XT, where he said that he was a tank, a Sherman tank with a Ferrari engine, because that guy can legitimately go, and I like him and I like the character. I also like not seeing him have a match every week. I think that kind of adds to his mystique, to where like we have to wait to get a Bray Wyatt match. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't think there's going to be a clear outcome at the end of that match. I think it's going to be some sort of schmozzy or interference. But I do think that's. I don't like the idea of cage matches on a regular show. I'm not into that. I don't know why, but I always feel like a cage match should be a big time match at the pay-per-view. Now, obviously, when I say giving it away for free, it's actually for how much?
$9.99.
Oh, yeah, man. But yeah, that's that. Those are just my overall feelings. Then we had a very interesting match here. We had Jimmy Uso with Jey Uso. Jey is got that knee taped up from that knee injury last week. I'm struggling. I'm not sure whether that's a legit injury or this is just kayfabe. Versus Goldust and Stardust. I'm tempted to believe it's a kayfabe injury just to extend the feud long enough and their matches long enough to lead into a pay-per-view, so that way we don't have the title change hands on a regular TV. Goldust basically starts the match. He gets on the mic and tries to apologize, and then the Usos jump him and beat the shit out of him. I didn't see this past week's SmackDown, but apparently Michael Cole alluded to the fact that last week on SmackDown they tried to do the same thing, and then they jumped the Usos, so the Usos got their I guess revenge, so to speak. There's a point in the match where one of the Usos, I don't know who's who, we'll say Jimmy, I think, because that's what I have in my notes. He's got Goldust pinned, but then Stardust jumps up and puts Goldust's leg on the ropes. That encourages Jay to come around the side of the ring. And I love it because as soon as he came after Stardust, Stardust just kicked him in the bad knee. Love it. And then, what was it? Jimmy runs and does the jumping dive over the top rope. Memory fails as to what that move is named. And then, of course, he comes back into the ring only to get one of the coolest finishers I've ever seen. And I don't think I've seen anybody else but Goldust use it because it's picture perfect. It's called the Final Cut, which is a variation of a vertical suplex, except before the guy's up at the full halfway point, when he's about, like, I'm going to say a fourth of the way up, Goldust does the spin. And then, of course, after the match, they just beat the hell out of Jay, and then Goldust takes Jay and while he's laying in the ring, drags his feet out, puts the one leg around the ring post, and then Stardust just beats the hell out of it with a steel chair. What'd you think about this?
This feud is actually getting really nasty, where, I mean, what was it, Jimmy or Jay? Jay is the one with the messed up knee, and let me tell you, when Stardust kicked him in his knee as he turned that corner, I couldn't help but to laugh, dude. I couldn't help but to laugh.
It was awesome, right?
That's it. I was laughing so hard.
And it wasn't like...
He should have just, like, pointed and yelled or something.
But it was cool because it wasn't even... It was such a heel move because it wasn't even like not like a definitive, but it wasn't even like a major defense. He was like, oh, you're injured? Well, fuck you. I'll just kick you in your leg. It was awesome, right?
It was completely awesome, dude. I enjoyed that so much, and then they went with the punishment, and we now have a Dust Brothers heel turn.
And you know what's funny, too? One of the interesting things about that is it's a heel turn, but they're not making any changes to their character. It's essentially the same character, except they're just being dicks. And I like that.
For real.
Sometimes a character has to change to turn heel. Sometimes they don't. And I like that because the Stardust character is still relatively new, and this incarnation of Goldust is still new enough that I like the idea of a heel turn, but I like the character so much. I didn't want them to change at all. And really, really cool stuff. Then, of course, we get a backstage segment with the World's Strongest Show, Big Show and Mark Henry. Mark Henry talks about how he's going to face Rusev. I actually didn't put down in my notes where that's going to happen, so I don't know if that's Monday or Friday or whenever. But Big Show basically suggests maybe I should come down to the ring and, help you out. And Henry basically, he's like, nah, man, I got to do this by myself. And he kind of gets a weird, discouraged look at a Big Show. And the Big Show does this weird, out of place, like, yeah, you're going to get him. You're going to wreck him up. And Henry's like, yeah, I'm sexual chocolate. Hell yeah. Question. I'm getting a feeling here, and I'm not saying that this is going to be the case, but would you be surprised if at some point Big Show in the near future turns on Henry or just holds that against him?
Right now I don't see it happening. But if Show were to interfere with the match, then maybe I could see that going into a storyline with them to start a feud.
The only reason,
as of right now, I really don't.
The only reason why I mentioned that is because Big Show's response wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm your friend, I respect it. He had this weird kind of like, oh, I'm a gentle giant, you hurt my feelings, brr, kind of look on his face. So it was just a little thought. I don't think it would happen either because they've only been a team for so long. I think if they were going to do that, it should go down the line. But I think definitely if they were planning that, I think that's a seed that they could plant and like slowly water and grow and grow and grow. Now, before we get to the actual main event, there's this thing that they keep talking about, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. They keep saying that they have an open invitation to this guy, Michael Sam. Now, I don't follow any real sports. Not really. There was a time when I did. Apparently, from what I found out, Michael Sam is an American professional football player. Looks like he did play for the Rams, maybe the Rams practice team. And I think he has been picked up by the Dallas Cowboys. Apparently, the guy has impressive credentials in some preseason exhibition games. And it looks like he had some previous accolades in either high school or college. I didn't do that much research. I'm too busy watching wrestling. And then they kept mentioning that it's an open invitation if he so chooses, and that they're going to give him a live mic to speak on. Now, one of the interesting things about Michael Sam is that, to my knowledge, he's actually the first openly gay athlete in the NFL. Two-part question. Number one, what do you think that this whole thing is about? Because I couldn't find anything as if he's been like treated poorly and that's why they want to give him the mic. So what do you think that this is pertaining to? And two, do you think it's going to have something to do with Bo Dallas?
What? I'm not understanding. It has anything to do with Bo Dallas? You know what? They've been. Go ahead.
The reason why I mentioned that is because in the thing, they kind of hint that what he's doing in sports is very inspirational, and it's encouraging to other people, and it's very brave. And I have a feeling that I don't know if they're able to work it out. I have a feeling somehow it's going to involve Bo Dallas. Call me crazy. I got my spidey senses tingling.
Okay, crazy.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on either. This is the spidey sense, all that jazz. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we have the main event, which was made previously in the episode of Raw. It's John Cena, Roman Reigns, and the Y2J, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, the Lionheart. God, what was that other moniker? I always loved and I wish he used more. The Paragon of Virtue, Chris Jericho, versus Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins, Corporate Kane, and Randy Orton. Of course, Triple H and Stephanie are sitting at ringside. One of the interesting wrinkles here is that when Triple H made this match earlier in the show, he basically said he essentially implied that whoever impressed him the most would get that match against Lesnar, he never explicitly said whoever wins the match. And that doesn't mean that just because one guy does well that he'll even pick him, because he'll probably pick Randy Orton anyway, which I would love a Randy Orton versus, Brock Lesnar match. What do you think about this match as a main event?
Okay. I like the way this match actually panned out, where they actually did not utilize Cena as he would really want to be utilized. But, I mean, everybody got to actually touch the ring until, but Cena only had, what, like 6 seconds?
Maybe.
Did you pull up your timer?
No, because when I was looking at the time left, when I was looking at what I was watching, I was like, shit, we still have like 20 minutes before the end of the show, so I didn't even bother to whip it out, so to speak.
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, very calculated on not letting Cena show what he had to offer to the match. And then when he did, it was very short, very sweet, and honestly, they could have done more with this match on not utilizing Cena, because let me tell you right now, with Roman Reigns and Jericho, I mean, they're on fire. Excellent. They put in an excellent in-ring performance. So, but again, this match was geared for Cena to show off his talents, which he really didn't. Input? Crazy?
I think the only person that actually benefited from this match was Roman Reigns. Basically, Chris Jericho got to be the face in peril. He got his ass beat for the majority of the match, and Chris Jericho is very good at that. He's just good at everything. But basically, eventually, I think Roman Reigns was like in once or twice. But I think that these types of matches, and the same way that when they were doing the 6-man matches with the Shield, is that they were done in such a way to really play to Roman Reigns' strengths. Because I wouldn't say he's limited per se, but his style is very much quick and explosive, right? He's not a Dean Malenko. He's not a Rey Mysterio. He's a Roman Reigns. He's his own dude. There's only one Roman Reigns. Some people you can kind of compare to other people. I don't think I can really compare Reigns to anyone as of quite yet, because his style is very deliberate and it's very, very much explosive. Very less, but well-placed big power moves. Kind of almost similar to Goldberg in a sense that Goldberg didn't do a whole lot, but the few things that he did were really, really impactful. So eventually, Cena gets the hot tag, and actually, I didn't hear, because they booed him when he came out, but by the time he got the hot tag, everybody was actually cheering Cena, which was pretty cool to see. And then basically he takes down Kane with an attitude adjustment, and he basically has the match won. And he says, he said something to the effect of, "Are you impressed now?" to Triple H. And then one of the interesting things here, and again, this is why I think that this match was made specifically to position Roman Reigns in a certain light, is because Cena had the match won, but instead of taking the pin, he stopped and tagged in Reigns, and then Reigns comes in, spear to Kane. And then after the match, Cena gets in Triple H's face and says, "I will fight Lesnar at Night of Champions." Then Seth Rollins tries to do the sneaky chicken shit heel thing and attack him from behind, only to get an attitude adjustment onto the commentary, and then the show pretty much goes off the air. I thought it was a pretty cool main event. I thought this was a match that, yes, played very much to Roman Reigns' strengths, but also played really well to Randy Orton's strengths. I think there was a part where Roman Reigns was, I think it was Reigns, he was in the corner, and I want to say he was standing on the second rope, or it might have been Jericho he did it too, but he was facing the post, and Randy Orton came behind and did his signature backbreaker, except where he goes behind and then he has the guy's head here and then just kind of drops. But he did it while the dude was on the ropes, in the corner. I thought that was really neat. But yeah, I thought it was a solid match. Um, Again, I don't see the point of this whole will he, won't he wrestle Brock Lesnar. I think we should shit or get off the pot, so to speak. Like either we're going to go that way or we're not going to go that way. We only have so much time before Night of Champions, so let's stop wasting time dicking around as far as where we're going to go, decide where we're going, and then basically build the story around that. But that's pretty much all for this week's Raw. Not a whole lot happened. Very much missed Dean Ambrose. I hope he comes back very, very soon. Yeah. Anything else you have to say about this show?
Overall, it was an awesome show. I mean, there was a few spots that we already mentioned, but yeah, let's keep it rolling. So,
keep it rolling.
Ted.
That's pretty much our coverage of Raw September 1st, the Labor Day edition 2014. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, inbred, my goodness. In bed, excuse me. I'm not from the South. I just moved here. No offense. But please tell your friends, have your friends tell two friends, have their friends tell two friends, and have, I don't know, so on and so forth. Math stuff. I don't know. I went to public school. But yes, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think. Join our conversation in the comment box down below. Let us know what you think. Anything that you wanted us to talk about, any possible suggestions, please let us know. We'd love to talk about what you want us to talk about and not just what we want to talk about, which I'm sure is always boobies and booties.
Boobies!
Boobies! Hey, buddy. We got some stuff that we got to talk about. We got our Facebook question.
Okay. Last week, I posted on the Facebook page, who is your all-time favorite female wrestler? Not manager, but favorite female wrestler. And we got some decent hits this week. First off, Jonathan Nunez.
Hold on. Before you do that, I'm going to get... Wait. I really want to do this right.
What?
Now, every time I try to use these sound effects, I never hear them. So when I do use them, I end up clicking them once and say, oh, no sound effects this week. Turns out it does work, so I'm probably not going to hear this. But as an intro, I'm going to give you a little bit of a drum roll. Do you hear it?
Thank you for the drum roll. First, we have Jonathan Nunez, who his favorite female wrestler, was Beth Phoenix. Now we have Loli, who said Chyna, which I would consider her more of a manager than a wrestler. I mean, she did some in-ring, but she was more of a manager than a wrestler. But thank you, Loli. And then we have Ali, who his favorite female wrestler he posted as Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I have here with John Rambo. He put Melina, which we haven't seen in such a hot minute. She was actually pretty good, very dramatic, and she was a wrestler, She did start off as a manager and then went into the wrestling.
And she did that thing where she would get in the ring and she would show her booty. That's all I remember about her, but yeah.
She would do the split.
Yes.
Okay. And we have Anne Laurentowski. She put the fabulous Moolah. Now, I do have to comment, Moolah was undefeated for quite some time. And she, not only did she wrestle, but she did shoot matches also. Shoot matches, whatever how you want to say it, where they were actually really fighting. And she was undefeated. Okay. And then we have Suzanne Gardner, who totally went glow on us and came out with Matilda Hun and Hollywood and Vine, which is awesome. After researching a little bit of information, Joe the Hun still wrestles to this day. As for Hollywood and Vine, put any additional information and see if they were doing any type of events. I came to a dead end, so no additional information. Then we have Jersey Born. Brian, my homeboy, he put in there Lita. High flyer, awesome wrestler. I remember seeing her ECW. Awesome wrestler. And then we have Mike Lomanchar with Trish Stratus, and his brother Frankie Matei also picked Trish Stratus. So now, Ted, I'm going to ask you, who is your all-time favorite female wrestler?
Oh, man, this is a tough one. There were some really, really good picks. I try to be a little different, pick something that someone hasn't already picked already. By the way, I really, really dug the pick of Fabulous Moolah, and you're right. She was wrestling back in the Carney days, where basically it was legit. Back when guys were considered shooters and hookers, which were real amateur wrestlers that could basically, guys like Stu Hart back in those days, who could basically just grab you and put you in something very painful because the business was very protected. Man, this was tough. This was really, really tough because the first one that came to my mind was Moolah. I made myself a very short list. I have a couple of honorable mentions here. Sensational Sherry, but as great as a female wrestler she was known mostly as a manager in her later years, so she gets crossed off the list. I also wanted to mention Bull Nakano. Bad bitch. But I don't think she makes the cut because diehard wrestling fans, some of us diehards don't even remember much about her. She had very short tenures in both WCW, NWA, as well as WWE. Most of her stuff was in Japan. So I have decided that my favorite female wrestler is the toughest man in the wrestling business, Mae Young. May she rest in peace.
Nice selection. Really nice selection.
What about yours, man? I'm not letting you go.
So, and now there's two that I have to mention. First one is April Hunter. She had a small bit in WCW, and she does independence right now. She is an awesome in-ring performer, and let me tell you, the girl has her own website, aprilhunter.com, if you're interested in knowing who she is. She does a lot of independence, but my all-time favorite is Tina Ferrari in Glow, and then when she transitioned over to WWE, she went as Ivory. My all-time favorite. So, Pig, I'm going to go ahead and post another question up. Please answer, comment, and if you do make a comment, we will send you a shout-out on the show. Anything else, Ted? What we got for them? Anything else?
Well, the shout-out actually also, just so you know, extends to the YouTube page as well. Again, like, comment, subscribe, embed, share, tell your friends, comment on the YouTube page, comment on the Facebook page. We're all going to be one big happy family. Thank you very much for joining us on our episode number 14 of the Ted and Papo, the Wrestling Exchange. As always, my name is Ted, and that is...
Papo in the house. We love you guys. Keep watching.
Good night, everybody. We will see you next week. We have a sound effect? It's working? Okay. Good night, everybody.